Only in Kentucky can a single county claim the birthplace of a famous guitar style, an iron furnace haunted by a headless ghost, and a town hauled away by a coal train. Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm learning a little bit more about Kentucky. One county at a time. All 120 of them. And today, I'm learning about Muhlenberg County. Muhlenberg sits in the west-central portion of the Commonwealth, firmly planted within the western Kentucky coalfield. The topography shifts from steep ridges in the south to rolling plateaus in the north. A network of rivers defines the jurisdiction's boundaries. The Green River and the Mud River specifically define the eastern edge, while the Pond River shapes the western border. Today, the population is roughly 30,000. Human history in these valleys spans 12,000 years. Paleoindian groups traversed the region to hunt mastodons and mammoths, and as the climate warmed and megafauna went extinct, populations adapted by hunting smaller game and directly pulling resources from rivers. They discarded freshwater mussel shells, animal bones, and debris into piles along the riverbanks. Archaeologists call these deposits shell middens, and during the 1930s, residents near the Green River dug pits into a midden at the Baker site to harvest the calcified shells to feed to their chickens. Archaeologists eventually caught wind of the site and launched a formal excavation in 1938. They recovered stone tools, cooking earths, and human graves. They also discovered intentional dog burials, and the care given to the animals revealed that canines held a significant status within the community. Centuries later, European pioneers followed the compacted trails left by migrating bison to enter the region. They cleared the timber and established farms. The Kentucky legislature officially formed the county in 1798, partitioning the land from Logan and Christian counties. A pioneer named Henry Rhodes petitioned the government to name the jurisdiction in honor of General John Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg. The general was a clergyman from Pennsylvania who famously removed his ministerial robes during a church sermon to reveal the uniform of a Continental Army officer. He commanded a Virginia regiment during the American Revolution, and veterans of his unit received land grants in the region after the war. As the population grew, the terrain isolated pockets of settlers, leading to the creation of communities with colorful origins. Residents established Greenville as the county seat in 1799. Officials constructed a courthouse in the center of town. They replaced the building multiple times over the years, ultimately erecting a structure in 1907 that features a dome holding an open-air belfry and a clock tower. And while judges handed down sentences inside the courthouse, the county needed a place to hold the prisoners. Officials erected a jail on Court Row in 1912, replacing two structures that had outlived their usefulness. Builders modeled the facility after missions in California. They tiled the walls with clay and cut vents into the dormers. The building held inmates for decades before the county outgrew the space. The structure still survives today. Other communities took shape across the hillsides. Immigrants from Germany settled the town of Bremen in 1932. Central City suffered an identity crisis, beginning as a settlement called Moorhead's Horse Mill, named for a local grist mill. Residents changed the name to Owensboro Junction to anticipate the arrival of a railroad, then incorporated the town as Stroud City. They finally settled on Central City in 1882 to recognize the Central Coal and Iron Company that drove the local economy then. Then there's the community of Nonal. Nonal, you'll tell me which one. Anyway, this place earned its title when residents simply took the surname of a railroad maintenance supervisor named John Lennon, and they thought, okay, we'll just spell it backwards. The region's geography inspired acts of industrial ambition. Robert Alexander, a descendant of Scottish nobility, purchased 17,000 acres along the Green River in 1855. He planned to build an ironworks foundry. He named the settlement Airdrie after his ancestral home in Scotland, and he imported hundreds of Scottish miners and their families to work the site. Workers constructed stone buildings and a towering furnace stack. The operation failed completely. The imported laborers possessed incredible skill, but they lacked experience with the metallurgical properties of American ore. The foundry shut down after just 3 attempts, and Alexander abandoned the project in 1857. The stone ruins sit in the woods today. Locals pass down legends of the Airdrie ghost, a myth claiming the restful spirit of a murdered woman wanders the ruins and the muddy banks of the river, searching for her severed head. But those ruins sparked more than just ghost stories, because decades later, a kid from Chicago would visit the site with his family. To him, the towering stone walls looked like an abandoned old prison down by Airdrie Hill. He remembered playing in the ruins where the air smelled like snakes that he and his brother would shoot with their pistols, but empty pop bottles were all they would kill. That kid was John Prine, and his connection to Muhlenberg County would eventually immortalize the region. His parents, William and Verna Prine, grew up in the area before moving north to the Chicago suburbs for work, but every summer, the family would pack up the car, and as Prine later wrote, When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. The family would visit the community of Paradise, which sat right along the riverbank. It was originally founded as a trading post called Stone's Landing, and a post office opened there in 1852. It was a quiet working-class coal town. Young John Prine spent his summers swimming in the Green River and absorbing the area's stories. The landscape was shifting. Miners had opened a commercial drift bank near the river as early as 1820. Railroad construction after the Civil War linked the isolated coalfields to outside markets. The tracks transformed the society, drawing farmers out of the hollers to take wage-paying jobs in the expanding mines. By the mid-20th century, the extraction methods had evolved, because the coal company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber and stripped all the land. Well, they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, then they wrote it all down as the progress of man. In 1959, the Tennessee Valley Authority began constructing a coal-fired power plant right on the edge of the village. The plant was activated in 1963, and life in Paradise became unbearable. Ash from the boiler fell over the homes, sparking health concerns. The authorities stepped in and bought out the remaining residents in 1967. They bulldozed the homes, tore down the structures, and completely erased Paradise from the map to expand the plant. John Prine was working as a mailman in Chicago when he wrote a song in his head about the destruction of his parents' hometown. Released on his 1971 debut album, the song Paradise chronicled the environmental devastation and the loss of rural America. He sang about asking his father, "And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where Paradise lay?" And the answer was always the same. "Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has halted away." The song meant everything to the people who watched their heritage get swallowed by industry. Prine survived 2 bouts of cancer and continued writing brilliant, funny, heartbreaking music until he passed away from complications of COVID-19 in April 2020. He had already left instructions for his family in the final verse of that famous song. He wrote, "When I die, let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with Paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am." His family honored his wishes, spreading his ashes in the waters of the Green River. Today, you can travel to the John Prine Memorial Park at the Rochester Dam to pay respects and look out over the water that inspired him. The music of the county didn't stop just with John Prine, though. Muhlenberg is recognized by musicologists as the cradle of the thumb-picking guitar style. During the 20th century, local musicians like Kennedy Jones, Mose Rager, and Ike Iverly pioneered a highly complex finger-picking technique. The guitarist uses their thumb to maintain a driving bass line, while their index finger concurrently picks the melody. A local kid from Rosewood named Merle Travis learned the style, took it to the radio, and popularized it globally. Ike Everly passed those exact same musical sensibilities down to his sons, Don and Phil. Don was actually born in the Muhlenberg mining camp of Brownie in 1937. Central City preserves this heritage today by hosting the annual National Thumbpickers Festival at the Merle Travis Music Center. The county's history also includes a very real, very violent conflict. We've talked about this before in other counties, but farmers in the region grew dark-fired tobacco, and at the turn of the 20th century, the American Tobacco Company formed a corporate monopoly and slashed prices below the actual cost of production, driving local farmers into destitution. The farmers organized the Planters Protective Association in 1904, planning to pool their crops and withhold them from the market to force the corporation to negotiate. The corporation retaliated by offering artificially high prices to independent farmers to break the boycott. A paramilitary faction emerged calling themselves the Night Riders. These vigilantes mounted horses and rode through the darkness to enforce the boycott. They scraped plant beds, salted the earth, and choked young tobacco crops with grass seed. The riders dragged non-compliant farmers from their homes and whipped them. They executed military-style raids, capturing entire towns and holding law enforcement at gunpoint sometimes, while dynamiting corporate warehouses. The violence only faded after the federal government used antitrust laws to dissolve the monopoly in 1911. As the 21st century progressed, the demand for coal declined. The county had to pivot. Today, local leaders are transitioning the economy towards advanced manufacturing and renewable energy. Repkin USA recently secured a federal defense contract to build a TNT manufacturing facility in the community of Graham. Meanwhile, energy companies are leveraging the county's industrial past by installing solar panel arrays across the acreage of reclaimed surface mines. The area also offers recreational spaces, of course. The state impounded water to create Lake Malone near the community of Dunmore. Visitors can hike past sandstone cliffs rising above the reservoir. Local officials converted abandoned rail lines into the Muhlenberg County Rail Trail. The paved path connects Central City and Greenville, allowing pedestrians and cyclists to navigate a local wetland environment safely. In Greenville, Brizendine Brothers Nature Park features walking paths and a quiet spot called Uncle Lum's Well. The well honors Christopher Columbus Martin, a man born into slavery in 1844, who lived to the staggering age of 112. He endeared himself to the community by playing the fiddle and singing folk songs until his passing in 1956, and the park ensures his memory is permanently tied to the land. So, and that's Muhlenberg County. What'd I get wrong this time? God, I love John Prine.